Welcome back to Starz Recapped. Today, we're diving into the 2008 adventure sci-fi film Terra Nova. Set in a mysterious and dangerous new land, this movie follows a group of explorers who stumble upon a world unlike anything they've ever imagined, filled with breathtaking landscapes, hidden secrets, and life-threatening dangers at every corner. As they struggle to survive, friendships are tested, loyalties are questioned, and the fight for survival becomes more intense with every step. On the frozen cliffs of a lonely island, a man named Jilin battles against nature itself. He treks for miles through the wilderness, but fate takes a cruel turn when he slips into an icy river. Dragged downstream by the current, he barely escapes death, clawing his way back onto land. Shivering, starving, and exhausted, he collapses against a rock. With nothing else to eat, he chews on a wild flower, his mind drifting back to the dark chain of events that brought him here. Jilin was once a prisoner, locked away for life after taking 6 lives. One day, he was unexpectedly called before the prison governor. But instead of punishment, he faced a strange question. What do you dream of? He wasn't the only one. Moryak dreams of looking at the ocean, while Yakut is eager to witness the conflict with China. Obezyanka stays silent, but Obezyan admits he'd rather remain in this prison and even rule over it as governor. Tolya sets his sights on tracking the space station's journey, and Sipa longs for the company of women once more. Yet when it comes to Jilin, his response remains a mystery, never revealed. The governor soon announced their fate. They'd been selected for transfer to a faraway penal colony. Shackled and divided, they were herded onto a ship, thrown into cells like animals. But inside, chaos ruled. A ruthless prisoner named Obezyan declared himself the leader, even murdering another man to claim a bed. As the hatch slammed shut and the ship drifted into the endless sea, panic consumed the prisoners. Whispers spread through the dark. This wasn't a transfer. It was a death sentence. As tensions rise among the prisoners, Jilin recalls a strange conversation he once had with Sipa back in the prison yard. Sipa was mentally unstable, always scribbling nonsense on the walls and rambling about odd things. But one day he spoke of heaven and hell being full, and a third place being prepared for men like them. At the time, Jilin dismissed it as delusion. But now, it doesn't sound so far-fetched. The chaos soon settles, and the men pass time by chatting and eating. But their fragile peace shatters when a group breaks free from their cell, demanding one of their own. Obezyan pretends to play along, only to slaughter the man they're searching for, igniting a violent riot. Through the bars, prisoners clash brutally, fists and blades flying, while only the old man Starry kneels in the corner, quietly praying. The bloodshed doesn't last long. Guards storm in, fire warning shots, and toss in a gas grenade, knocking everyone unconscious. When they awake, the convicts find themselves abandoned on a deserted island. Each man is cuffed with a numbered shackle and lined up to hear from Mr. Olafsson and Marta, leaders of a mysterious program called Terra Nova. They reveal a chilling truth. Since executions have been banned worldwide, prisons can no longer contain the growing number of criminals. So governments have begun a new experiment, turning men like these into colonists on this isolated land. They'll be monitored by satellites, given 3 months' worth of food, and a few supply crates. Communication buoys have been placed offshore. Press the red button, and if the green light appears, your request has been granted. But those same buoys can also be used to quit the project and return to prison, if you're willing to risk the sea to reach them. The men aren't impressed. Obezyan hurls a rock at one of the cameras, but guards quickly force him back with gunfire. Before leaving, they dump a pile of keys in the sand, each one matching the prisoner's shackles. Instantly, chaos erupts. The convicts swarm the keys like animals, fighting viciously, while Jilin, Sipa, and Starry hang back, watching violence consume the others. A gang quickly forms, surrounding the keys to keep rivals away, while others raid the supply crates for weapons and turn them on the crowd. Ali's gang manages to seize control, but greed and betrayal tear them apart. One by one, men are crushed with rocks, stabbed, or drowned trying to escape by boat. When the dust settles, only a handful remain. Supplies are dragged to a warehouse where Obezyan frees himself from his cuffs and takes command. Jilin quietly packs food, grabs a jacket, and slips away, while Sipa mutters darkly that the rations will never last 3 months. Choosing survival over loyalty, Jilin sets out alone. Wandering across the island, he discovers a rare stretch of land untouched by snow, sheltered by rocky cliffs. Exhausted, he collapses there, pulling out a hidden photograph of his family from his prison uniform. Tears stream down his face as he longs for the life he lost before sleep finally overtakes him. Sometime later, Jilin is jolted awake by a strange squealing sound. To his horror, he realizes the supplies he carried have been infested with rodents, chewing through his food and bag. As rain begins to pour, he scrambles back to the rocky shelter he had found earlier, managing to spark a fire for warmth and boil some water to stay alive. When the storm clears, Jilin catches a bird and roasts it over the fire. Just as he's about to eat, Sipa suddenly appears. At first, Sipa makes small talk, but quickly tries to snatch Jilin's knife. Jilin, however, spots the trick and yanks it back. Sipa then offers some salt he's been carrying, and even his help in exchange for a share of the meat. Reluctantly, Jilin agrees. As Sipa collects firewood, he notices a photo of Jilin's family hanging from the rocks, and disturbingly, he blows a kiss at the picture of Jilin's wife. The two share the bird, but afterwards Sipa walks to the cliff's edge. He admits he often thinks about jumping, but fear holds him back. Curious, he asks why Jilin doesn't give up as well. Jilin's answer is heartbreaking. His family is gone, and he wants to be buried beside them, something impossible if he dies stranded on this island. Later, Jilin wakes to a sickening sight. Sipa has stolen the family photo for his twisted fantasies. Enraged, Jilin savagely beats him and shoves him off the cliff. But Sipa doesn't die. He lands on a slope just below. Despite their bitter clash, the two continue traveling together, searching for a way out of this nightmare. During their exploration, Sipa amuses himself with garbage washed up on shore while Jilin tries fishing. But instead of fish, he finds a bizarre creature resembling a giant aquatic centipede, which terrifies Sipa. Then, in a shocking discovery, Jilin stumbles across wreckage from a seaplane. Following the trail up the hill, he finds the entire aircraft intact. For the first time, hope sparks inside him. He once was a pilot, and with this plane, escape might be possible. But moving it requires more manpower than just the two of them, so they return to camp for now. Jilin lights a fire using matches he grabbed earlier from the warehouse, but something in them burns with a poisonous smoke. He drags the unconscious Sipa to safety, shaking him awake just in time. Yet Sipa only mumbles incoherently, and Jilin realizes the freezing cold will soon finish them off. Desperate, the pair decide to head back to the base in search of coal. Meanwhile, life at the base has turned into a brutal hierarchy. Obezian has crowned himself governor, ruling over the supplies and controlling the men. His gang maintains strict order, treating the camp like a prison yard, keeping outsiders locked inside barracks, only allowing them out for brief walks in a fenced area. From the watchtower, Estonets bellows commands, while everyone else struggles to survive under this new dictatorship. Back at the camp, survival has turned into a twisted game. Every time the prisoners return, they're forced to run, and the last man standing is executed, his body used as food. Jilin and Sipa barely make it to the coal box, where they discover the charred remains of an old fire. Exhausted and frozen from the long trek, they collapse beside the embers and drift into sleep. But the peace doesn't last. Sipa jolts awake at the sound of footsteps. The gang is coming, dragging their next victim to be roasted alive. Sipa hides behind a rock, but seeing Jilin still exposed, he risks everything to pull him away. Sadly, he's too late. Obezian's men spot them, and both are captured. Back at base, Obezian weighs their punishment for running off with supplies. Yakut tries to defend them, reminding the gang that Jilin and Sipa once fought on their side during the ship mutiny. But Estonets mocks him, leading Yakut to strike back. The moment sparks chaos. Obezian's entire crew gangs up on Yakut, beating him savagely before throwing him in the barracks alongside Jilin and Sipa. That night, as the prisoners lie awake, they witness another horrifying scene. The last man from the game is tied to a pole, begging for a final sip of water before his execution. Out of pity, Sipa brings him a cup, moments before the man is slaughtered. Later, the group quietly whispers about rebellion. It's risky, but Shram convinces them that fighting back may be their only hope. The next morning, Talia unveils a hidden trap he built in his workshop, claiming it'll catch thieves if the chance arises. During the routine walk, Estonets orders them back inside for another round of the sick game. But this time, most refuse. Only 2 men run. The rest stand together, and Yakut hurls a rock at Estonets, silencing him. Seizing the moment, Jilin approaches Obezian with an offer. If Obezian lets them sail to the buoy to request food, Jilin will reveal the location of the abandoned plane he discovered. Obezian agrees, opening the gate. Talia, Jilin, and 2 others climb into a boat and push off toward the sea. But behind their backs, Obezian starts asking questions about Jilin. He soon learns the truth. Jilin was once a pilot whose family died in a plane crash. Overcome with grief, he stormed into an airport with a rifle and killed flight dispatchers, earning a life sentence for murder under severe emotional distress. Obezian interprets this as guilt eating Jilin alive. As soon as the boat is out of sight, Obezian betrays his word. He orders the rest back into the barracks, declaring the deal canceled. When Yakut resists, he's cut down on the spot. With blood on his hands, Obezian coldly announces the start of another game. Outnumbered and outgunned, the prisoners have no choice but to run back into confinement, their rebellion crushed before it even began. Out at sea, disaster almost strikes when one of the men slips overboard. Luckily, the others manage to pull him back before he's lost to the waves. Tolia eventually reaches the buoy and desperately tries to send a signal for help, but the device is broken and even his tools can't fix it. With no choice, they return to shore. Jilin insists to Obezian that food will be delivered soon, but Obezian doesn't buy it. The lack of a green confirmation light makes him think it's all a lie. Tolia reminds him of the abandoned plane Jilin had discovered, but Obezian refuses to believe in that either. In the middle of this argument, Obezianka mocks them by spreading his arms like wings and pretending to fly. Distracted, Obezian grabs him by the throat, but Tolia seizes the chance, attacking from behind and killing Obezian on the spot. The balance of power shifts instantly. 2 others, Amurbek and Arzhanov, slaughter the remaining loyalists and send Estonets fleeing for his life. Turning to Jilin, they demand to know what comes next. Jilin urges them to free the prisoners in the barracks, swearing that food is on the way and that the light failed because the buoy was damaged. Some men scoff, pointing out that they could easily survive on the bodies around them. But Tolia insists on giving the dead a burial instead of turning them into rations. Jilin then reminds them of the plane. If repaired, it could be their ticket off this frozen hell. Reluctantly, Amurbek and Arzhanov agree. They release the captives, announcing a new set of rules. No more cannibalism, everyone must stay calm, and all will share supplies while waiting for food. At the same time, a team will be sent to secure the plane, build a hangar, and begin repairs. But their fragile hope is interrupted by Sipa, who scribbles an SOS in the sand using corpses as letters, ranting that no satellite is watching them. Before long, Estonets sneaks back to camp. Instead of seeking revenge, the new leadership honors their promise of peace and even shares food with him. Soon after, Jilin leads a group to the crash site, and morale soars when they see he was telling the truth. Together, they dismantle the aircraft piece by piece and carry it back to base. Not long after, Marta herself arrives on the island with armed guards. The prisoners are subdued with gas, but Jilin is allowed to approach and present their requests. Marta is puzzled when he asks for fuel since the generators are supposedly wind-powered. Jilin lies, claiming they need it for energy during the polar night, when in reality he intends to use it for the plane. He also questions why they ignored Sipa's SOS message. Marta explains that their satellites only detect heat signatures, not written words. Suspicious, she asks what the prisoners were doing far from camp days earlier. Jilin covers with another lie, saying they were fishing. But Marta knows there are no fish in these waters, so he quickly claims they've been eating strange centipede-like sea creatures, leaving her horrified. She then demands to know how many of the original 206 colonists remain. Jilin, suspicious of the question, says 87, many of them ill, but insists none wish to abandon the project and return to prison. Before leaving, Marta grants Jilin one personal request. He hands her sheets of paper, asking her to provide for the group's survival. Once the guards depart and the new supplies are delivered, Jilin and his men secretly test the fuel on the hidden plane. To their relief, it works. Their fragile hope grows stronger until the next twist arrives. A fresh group of American prisoners is unloaded onto the island as Marta and her guards disappear back into the horizon. The new arrivals also have a leader, a huge, intimidating figure. When Jilin tries to greet him, the man responds with a punch instead of a handshake, sparking an all-out war between both groups. Chaos erupts, blood is spilled, and survival becomes the only law. In the middle of the madness, Sipa pulls Jilin into the workshop for cover. One of the Americans gives chase, but he falls straight into Tolya's deadly trap. Outside, Arzanov squares off against the American leader and nearly loses his life, until Amerbek steps in, cutting the giant down as fire spreads through the camp. All of this is being monitored by the project leaders. When they realize the situation has collapsed beyond repair, Marta is ordered to activate Code Naked Island. Guards swarm the colony, guns blazing, wiping out everyone in sight. Marta, showing no remorse, burns Jilin's letters to ash, but a few survivors remain. Hidden away in the mountains and hangars, Jilins, Sipa, Arzanov, and Tolya make one final attempt at freedom. They push the plane into the open, ready for takeoff. Just before boarding, Sipa chooses his own path, leaping fearlessly into the sea, leaving the others behind. The plane finally lifts off under a hail of bullets. Jilin's companions fall, but somehow he survives, guiding the aircraft into the clouds. Alone, broken, but free. Or so it seems. Because the real question lingers, did Jilin truly escape, or is there an even darker fate waiting beyond the horizon? And that's a wrap on Terra Nova. From a frozen prison island to a fight for survival, we followed Jilin and the other prisoners as they faced betrayal, brutal fights, and the harshest conditions imaginable. In the end, only a few managed to survive, escaping into the unknown, leaving us with questions about freedom, sacrifice, and the cost of survival. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Terra Nova, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Starz Recap for more full movie breakdowns and hidden story secrets. What would you have done if you were stranded on that island? Let us know in the comments. Stay tuned, because next, we're uncovering another epic adventure that you won't want to miss.